and thank you for joining me for my presentation today on dynamic personalization for dramatic results. This is a topic that is very, very timely for me personally and very timely for all the B2B brands that I deal with right now, and let me explain why. At the end of my presentation last year, my final slide was on my wish list of what I would like to see from Odoo that would help us marketers who are trying to implement revenue growth strategies in our companies and our clients' companies achieve that. So number 3 on the list was dynamic personalization. And this is one that I honestly never got to after the presentation last year for the first 6 months because my presentation was on B2B email marketing automation using Odoo, and that's what I focused on with 2 or 3 of the brands that engaged me after the conference. What happened in February made this very relevant to all of us all of a sudden. Obviously, the pandemic that we're living with now post-COVID means that these real-life interactions that were happening offline, that were successfully growing our B2B businesses, whether it's walking the trade show floor to meet new contacts within your customers' organizations or having people come up to your booth, these real-life experiences needed to be replicated online in order for the kind of growth that we're used to in the traditional B2B worlds to continue. So let's take a look at what was happening here. This is actually a photo from Odoo Experience 2019 from the trade show floor. And you can see the first thing that the booth attendant does when a prospect or someone new comes up to the booth is immediately looks down at the badge to identify what company they're coming from, because that changes the whole way that she's going to greet them and interact with the prospect. Are they an existing customer? If they're not, is there someone in their organization that she already works with? Or does she have any, special insight into that company already? So wanting to, establish some rapport, but also help this prospect get down the sales journey with the company. So if they're not already an existing customer, she's going to start asking them questions, some leading questions about what sort of industry that they're in right now and what sort of application within that industry they're looking to use her technology, so that she can really customize the way she's presenting the technology to be all about the customer and share other experiences of successes that she has had in that industry or that particular application. So do websites work like this right now? We wish they did, but in most cases they still don't. So let's take a look at Odoo.com and see if it mirrors that IRL, that in real life experience at all. We're on the home page. We see a laundry list of apps. Then we click an app. I clicked on accounting so I can imply my interest to Odoo, that this is what I want to use the technology for. If I go back to the home page, I still get a generic greeting message that has no screenshot of the accounting module and no customized information around what I already told them I'm interested in. So it's time for us and everyone in the Odoo ecosystem to start drinking our own champagne and using the tools that we have at our disposal and the data as well. So this is really a strategy for long-term sustainable growth of your company's revenue. It's not an individual tactic. So last year at Odoo Experience, that's what I was talking about, the one at the top there. My favorite thing to do in Odoo, which is B2B email marketing and marketing automation. Absolutely love doing it. And it does deliver really strong results, but it's still just an individual tactic. So if we look at number A, the downside of just an individual tactic is, of course, competitors can implement it as well. If they're not implementing it right now, they can hire an agency or a consultant to come in and do it for them. And then these individual tactics, they don't fully leverage the unique thing that we have as Odoo users and implementers and partners. And that's that we have all of the data right there for us to act on. I'll get to integrating separate systems and SaaS apps later on and show you why that's not a good strategy to take, and that's what your competitors have to work with. So we have this unfair advantage already in Odoo. Let's take advantage of it. And then let's stop going in and talking about what is your B2B email marketing strategy and pretending that that individual tactic is what should be focused on, when what we should look at is how each of these individual tactics, when implemented well, can serve the overall growth strategy. And for an overall growth strategy, I'm betting everything on dynamic personalization in the next 5 years. This is it. This is the only strategy that your B2B company needs to get your head around, understand, and start implementing, and then deploy all these tactics around it to help drive it. So here's 5 reasons why you should really look at this as the revenue growth strategy to impact your company's bottom line. Number 1, lower customer acquisition costs. Because all the personalized messaging through those tactics on the previous slide is going to be much more effective now with this strategy employed, you're going to have a higher ROI and lower acquisition costs in those channels than you've ever had. They're going to make the customer's job easier. So they're going to have increased repeat purchases because it's going to give them a portal that has all of their data and actions and suggestions on their past data. So they're going to obviously use it more and come back to it more frequently. We're going to ultimately just increase the overall revenue. And we're going to do this by upselling products to customers that they don't currently purchase from you right now, but they purchase from a competitor. And we're also going to increase the margins at that new sales level. So we'll do this by looking at past purchase history, and we'll cross-sell them into products that you have a higher margin on that do the same thing. So maybe it's a private label product versus buying the high street brand name from you. And then also by sending alerts to customers, reminders, whether their product needs to be restocked based on its expiration date or based on their past order frequency and their consuming of the product, then that's going to have increased customer lifetime value because they're just ordering more frequently. So those are 5 major benefits that are going to impact your company's bottom line. Now let's look at, again, that unfair advantage that we have being Odoo users versus what I really used to do 5 or 6 years ago, which was take a mass of SaaS applications. So just a bunch of different software as a services that we're subscribed to and try to deliver this same cohesive dynamic personalization. It's possible, but it's very, very difficult. So the reason why it's very advantageous to do it in Odoo is you already have all the inputs over here on the right going into the Odoo system. So you have your online orders and your offline orders. That happens in very few systems outside of the ERP world. But then you also have your CRM data for both an input, but then also an output when we look at what goes into creating that dynamic personalized experience is you have a customized website platform, again, the app running from the ERP, which other ERPs, you don't want to be using their website module to serve your customers your website experience on. In Odoo, you have a beautiful tool to do that. And then your email marketing, and what I like a lot is the server actions that you can use on Odoo to create that personalized experience. So you can have things happen inside of the ERP, like scheduling a phone call for the sales rep within the CRM based on how a customer has engaged with some of these other customer-facing channels and the dynamic personalization that you've given them. So how does Odoo compare versus the massive SaaS apps to do this? What are like the 4 largest factors? One is just the reduced technical debt of all these integrations. So it's one thing getting the integration working in the first place, but maintaining it when everything's integrated between all these separate systems is a nightmare. So you have one system that you've upgraded, now you have to fix the integration and upgrade those data points on all the other systems. It's really not fun. And integrations, vendors of these SaaS apps will tell you they will go smoothly and they've done it 100 times. everyone's unique. They're always a nightmare. And 3 is just a lower total cost of ownership. It doesn't matter how many Odoo licenses you need to buy or what modules you're using, it's always going to be cheaper than trying to integrate this with a bunch of SaaS apps, because as soon as they might see it advertised for $39 a month, but as soon as you start adding API access and everything you need to integrate it with everything else, that goes to $3,900 a month. So those low SaaS app prices that you see are not very true once you start integrating it to create a personalized experience. And then number 4 is more of a soft benefit, but the common interface that your marketing team has across all of these modules just means they'll be able to experiment easier and get these personalizations up and running for your company much more quicker than doing it in 12 different systems. So we're going to take a look at the types of websites and then the types of users that we can personalize around. So we're going to break this down to 3 different types of sites. We're going to do e-commerce sites, informational sites, and web applications. Web applications can be anything, any part of your website that is giving a tool to customers, whether it's a credit application or a mortgage finder or a ROI calculator for your technology. That's an application. So many of your websites are going to have all 3 of these elements, and you will use the tactics that I present to achieve this personalized experience strategy differently for each of these 3 sections. And then the type of users that we're going to look at personalizing to are customers. So we're going to say a customer is anyone who's logged into the website. And then B, a visitor. Visitor, I need to explain a little bit more because it is someone returning to your website, but it's also someone who's connected to your website through your database. So for example, if you're doing an outbound email marketing campaign and then that person clicks on the email and comes back to your site or comes to your site, they are a known visitor because they're already in your database. So we can do different personalization for them. And then C is the group that we know the least about, and that's just first-time visitors to the site. We're going to call them browsers. But we're going to keep this nomenclature throughout the presentation because we're going to just go quickly and say like 1C, which means first-time visitors to an e-commerce site. So we'll start off looking just at an e-commerce site. And I have 3 slides here, so each website type, I've put together 5 different actionable strategies that you can take to achieve dynamic personalization from it. So at the top, again, you'll see like 1 ABC means it's e-commerce, but it's applicable to all 3 types of users. So customers, returning visitors, and first-time browsers. So we'll go, I don't have time to go through all 15 of these on the presentation today because we do have a 20-minute time limit, but there is a link to a PDF at the end that you can download, and you can also download the slides from the Odoo Experience website or just take a screenshot now if you'd like to get all this information. But we could do search intent, rewards, points, and coupons, work really well on e-commerce sites, as well as presenting add-on products based off of past search history, and of course, triggered reminders internally to have your sales team take action on past purchases and behavior on the website as well. If we look at informal websites and ways we can personalize them, we can definitely ask customers, so we can use kind of progressive disclosure and ask customers more about themselves as we personalize the site for them, and then use that data for further personalization. So that's where the first 3 really revolve around, is getting customers to update their contact preferences. So they'll tell you, yeah, you know, I'm in the lab doing research every morning between 9 and 2 o'clock. I'm only at my desk between 2 and 5. That's when you should reach out to me. Or updating their customer profile. So we all have all those empty fields inside of our CRM module, inside of Odoo and any other platform you've always used. So ask them, let them populate it themselves and ask them that information. And then the green one here, let's use all that data to segment the list. So we'll ask them what sort of industry and what application they're working in, and then we'll retain that information in a cookie and on their login so that we can really customize the experience when they come back. And then these two are by far my favorite. So account targeting, just like that trade show booth. The booth attendant looked at the visitor's ID card, the badge, to see if they knew the company they were coming from. Why isn't our website doing that? Why doesn't your website look at the IP address of the visitor and say, hey, we do business with XYZ company, and did you know you already have a dedicated account rep or special pricing or special payment terms and shipping conditions already set up with us? This is how easy it's going to be for you to do business since your company already does with our brand. And then the last one is creating these serendipitous sales moments. And I've seen huge success in the last 2 years with this, with many different customers, is having your sales team contact the prospect when you're already top of mind with them. So when you've sent out an email and they've clicked into that link on the email, went to a landing page, now they're watching a video of your brand messaging, and then all of a sudden their phone rings because your marketing is smart enough to have a server action tell the sales rep, hey, John's watching your video, give him a call. That serendipitous sales moment is what's going to be a key component to driving this strategy of dynamic personalization to be the one strategy that's going to drive the most growth for you. On web applications, there's still so much we can personalize around it, aside from just asking the traditional inputs. So maybe the inputs that they're providing are affected by seasonality. Maybe if it's a ROI calculator for a solar project, well, in winter, that's going to be different than in summer. So have your app be responsive to that user's season. So that's different, right? Depending on what part of the country they are, not just the time of year, but personalize around that. You'll have that more immediate connection with them, and it's going to help them develop the relationship with your brand. That was also geography as well. Time-sensitive offers. So if you have a savings calculator, look at their age they are now versus the amount they need when they're going to retire, and then have that automatically update once they come back to the site. Time-sensitive personalizations are one of my favorite, especially if you can get someone's age and you're selling products that are age sensitive. So if you're selling toys to kids or educational materials. If you have any external data that impacts the calculation that they've done on your web application and it changes, interest rates change, or temperatures change, electricity rates change, make that part of your personalization and notify them and let them know how that impacted the data that they calculated on your site. And then finally, let them compare that data to other users that have done it within their town or their city. So finally, I think I've included this slide on almost every presentation I've always ever given, and it's very simple. What gets measured gets managed. And this is a quote from Peter Drucker, but it's so critical because often, and I've done this myself many times early in my career, is I get excited about a strategy or even an individual tactic, rush in, start doing it, and I never set up the proper measurements in place to prove the ROI of the work that I was doing around it. And then it never got additional funding, never got traction, and it wasn't ever a sustainable long-term strategy. So figure out the measurements that are unique for your business on how, whether it's you're driving more engagement in your app or increasing your e-commerce sales, or on informational sites, that top of the funnel activity. Figure out what it is you want to measure and nail those metrics and keep reporting on them to everyone involved on a regular basis, especially the ones that are cutting the checks to make all of this happen on your site. So if you'd like to see more examples, I've put together a PDF at the link above, John Buie, that's BUIE.com/dynamic. And in that PDF, you can see some mock-ups of examples of personalization, as well as links to it in the wild of how Odoo sites are personalizing to serve unique content to its customers. And I'd love to talk about this stuff. So reach out to me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/JBUIE, JBUIE. And we'll talk about it more. I am looking for like 2 or 3 more brands to work with to really dive deep into this over the next year or 2 years and either help your in-house teams implement it or train you how to do it or run with it completely and implement it for you. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out. John@johnbuie.com is the best way to reach me. And then, of course, there's all these phone methods on this side as well. I am in Canada right now, so the one in orange at the bottom is my direct phone number you can reach.
Hello everyone, and thank you for watching this amazing video made by John. Hello John.
Hi Maurice.
We are here for the Q&A session after this amazing talk. Let's go with the first question. So can you tell me what experiences does a developer need to make a good customization?
Yeah, I'm not a developer myself personally. I have a large development team that works inside of my agency. And when I'm working with clients, they often have their own developers, either in-house or their Odoo partner they're working with currently. Pretty much any Odoo partner will be able to implement these customizations well. The key is to really give them a very strong user story. And that's where the implementation usually follies, is miscommunication of the business needs and the intent from the leadership of the brand to the Odoo partner. So a really good way of doing it would be to clearly explain the user story of exactly what you want your customers to experience when they come to your website in terms of how you want it to be responsive to them. And then also, use mock-up tools. So either take your current website, take screenshots of it and piece it together inside of PowerPoint or whatever you're comfortable doing, or use a great mock-up tool like Balsamiq, which is a SaaS app you can subscribe to or do a free trial on, where you can literally just drag and drop different black and white elements to get a wireframe going of what you want that customization to look like.
All right, so thank you. So the word to remember would be user story, right?
Exactly, yeah.
It is. Okay, thank you. Second question, could you tell me what data from within the ERP is available to display on the front end of the website?
Yeah, pretty much anything. If you go into personalizing an email marketing campaign, you have the dynamic placeholder content generator tool. So for example, if you're having a welcome message to current customers on your homepage, then there's about 150 to 180 fields from the CRM, again, depending on how much customization you've done to your website already. But pretty much most fields that you can see inside of a CRM record can be pulled to be displayed on the front end of the site. This is an area where sometimes there needs to be more communication between the partner or developer or consultant and the brand. Is sometimes data will be asked for that is a computed field. So for example, if we were taking a look at customers' purchases and you wanted to tell them how much more they needed to order to qualify for free shipping, that's a more challenging request because that's not a field already within Odoo. You're asking to have a value computed based on a field that's in Odoo. And so in cases like that, if that was in the user story, that's a great opportunity for the partner to really show their knowledge of Odoo and suggest other ways of doing it to achieve the same goal. Just like in the implementation session from earlier today, you said the Odoo partner should come back with 1, 2, and 3 different suggestions of different ways of implementing, achieving the same goal.
All right, thank you for that complete answer. I guess that everybody is really glad with this answer. Alejandro is asking a question. Are those dynamic personalization possible with OTB Odoo, or they should be applied by a custom development?
So by OTB Odoo, he's meaning out of the box Odoo. And unfortunately, my answer is no. You do need custom development on this side of things. I'm a huge proponent for keeping things as out of the box as possible. I know adding more custom development adds to more technical debt of the project, but in this case, that is required. So you do need to engage with like your Odoo partner or Odoo directly or a consultant on it.
All right, maybe last question. Can you tell me a bit about your experience? Did you ever come into development for companies?
Yeah, so I own an agency as well called SCI Global Services, and we have fantastic developers in-house. Path and Kaiser and Vernon manage our fantastic development team, and I've worked in Odoo for about 5-6 years. And I think by hands down, we've launched the most beautiful and engaging Odoo websites out there. So our developers can do it, but also I love working with your in-house team or your existing Odoo partner. So one of my favorite customers here in Toronto, we work with their partner in Mexico, Boxo, which is a terrific Odoo development company.
Thank you, John. I have to stop you because we have to finish here. But if you want to follow an extended Q&A session, you just have to follow the link. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, John, for answering all these questions. And have a good afternoon, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.